What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Monday evening. So, Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel on Family Matters, is promoting his book, Growing Up Urkel. And everything that I've heard so far on this book promotional tour has skewed negative. Like, he is someone who has talked about you know, not necessarily having the best relationship with Will Smith. I believe he brought up, Tatiana Ali, even him supposedly, wanting to throw hands with the with Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow on the show Family Matters. And I'm just wondering, sir, I don't know if he thinks that maybe like the drama will sell more books, but he was in a very privileged position as such a young, successful actor. Like when I think about, all the money that they made, I believe the show was on for 8 or 9 seasons on, ABC. And it was back with the TGIF, Thank God It's Friday lineup with like Full House and Step by Step, Family Matters. And this was back when like syndicated shows brought in a lot of money. Like even Quincy Jones, who rest in peace, he just passed away recently. But he said that when he really started making money, that came not necessarily from music, but from him producing, help produce The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like syndicated shows back in the 90s were a gold mine. So, Jaleel originally he was supposed to be just a guest actor on Family Matters during the first season, but they got such a warm response from the audience in regards to the fun-loving, annoying neighbor that they decided to keep him, and eventually they worked the show around his character. It started off, it was a spin-off actually. Family Matters was a spin-off from Perfect Strangers. Now, I'm dating myself, but I was little when Perfect Strangers came out with Balky. And shout out to Balky. he was in he was in Beverly Hills Cop with Axel Foley. Anyway, so Jo Marie Payton was an elevator operator. And if you guys remember the piano lesson, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole right now, but work with me here. One of the key jobs on play Avery, the preacher, in like the 1930s, I believe, something like that. He was an elevator operator, and that's what August Wilson incorporated into his play, The Piano Lesson. Well, that's the job that Jo Marie Payton had on Perfect Strangers. They loved her character so much that they gave her a spinoff around her family called Family Matters with her husband, Carl, and the kids, Laura, Eddie, Judy. And Judy, we know, went upstairs one day and she never came back. She never came back down. Jaleel said that, she wasn't hitting her punchlines and she wasn't making people laugh, essentially. But anyway, going back to Jaleel and his book promotional tour, I'm just like, sir, you were someone who was the star of a show, of a major, network show, essentially making a lot of money. So much so that, I think it was Gabrielle Union and other people were saying that, like they were struggling, like they had, debt when they were in college, UCLA. But Jaleel had like a Mercedes and, he was a really high paid actor. But for some reason, he doesn't seem to be uh, a positive person or have a positive outlook on having this amazing opportunity as a kid. Like everything I've heard from him so far has been negative. I'm like, can somebody get Keenan Thompson on the phone? Because I feel like a lot of child actors, and I'm thinking about like Orlando Brown, unfortunately, even Raven Simone, just they have really had a difficult time. Even Kel Mitchell, right? With Keenan's counterpart, they've had a difficult time transitioning out of being a child actor to, being a functional or even, a happy adult. But Jaleel, he did this interview at the Wilmington Library, and I'm going to let you guys hear a clip because he's basically complaining about, feeling like he's being left out of the Black entertainment legacy. He's like, if it's not a hood story, then it's not a Black story. And I'm thinking, you're just perpetuating those negative stereotypes. Black people are not a monolith. And we know that because your show was popular and you were like the counter opposite to a Will Smith, right? Who was a jock, played basketball, and came from the street life. You were in a Chicago suburb who, your parents were scientists. You guys were middle to upper middle class. Anyway, I'll let you guys hear the clip because I've never heard of somebody making so much money at such a young age and being so bitter. But what do I know? Let's go ahead and listen.
Being a part of the TGIF brand sometimes makes you feel like you don't completely belong in the pantheon of Blackness. Blackness has been treated as a very monolithic experience in entertainment. If it's not a hood story, it's not a Black story. And, sometimes I feel left out of that. So it's like, like if there's ever a poll and they say, oh, what are your favorite Black shows? And, Martin is in there, or Living Single, or any of those guys, I already know we coming in last. But if there's ever a poll and it's just like your favorite family shows and suddenly Martin's not in there or whatever, all of a sudden we rank really high. And so it's kind of interesting in how we look at ourselves, to be quite honest, even as Black folks. And somehow I became a symbol for Black male nerd culture, to be quite honest. I mean, I know this for a fact. Any brother that grew up in the 80s and 90s, or 90s and 2000s, wearing glasses, he was told at school he looked like me. He was called Urkel. And he didn't look anything like me, guaranteed. But still, his peers would find a way to call him Urkel, and even girls to that extent. So it's really humbling to see how far nerd culture has come. And really, it's not nerd culture. It's smart culture. It's hobbyist culture. It's skateboarders. And I could never have known in a million years that I would be the face of that. I never could have known it.
So I don't understand why he's upset or feeling like he was left out of the legacy of Black entertainment, because he's right. Nerd culture has exploded, I would say, within like the last decade. And he is largely the face of that. And instead of owning that, I feel like he's still disparaging it, right? He's saying, that if it's not a hood story, it's not a Black story. That's not true. Again, going back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air example, or Family Matters, or, 101, or I mean, UPN, there were so many shows on UPN, The Parenthood, we had the Wayans brothers. I mean, Living Single, if we want to go there, Living Single, there wasn't anything hood about Living Single. Everybody had a good job on Living Single. Okay? Kyle was a stockbroker, for goodness sake, and Maxine was a whole lawyer out here. Y'all better put some respect. Put some respect on Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. Okay? Khadijah owned her own magazine. Sir, what are you talking about? These people lived in a beautiful brownstone in New York City, one of the most expensive places to live in the entire world. And okay, let's go to Martin, right? Martin, he was a radio show host. Okay, he had his own apartment. Gina, his girlfriend, Gina Waters, she was a marketing executive. So was Pam. The only person that didn't have a job on there was Tommy, but they clowned him for it. They ain't let that slide. You know what I'm saying? If you black households, you work, okay? Black women and black men have always had jobs. So I'm not sure what he's talking about. I feel like he's upset at the fact that the writers, a lot of them for ABC, didn't have the flavor, the sauce, the authenticity that the writers on Martin or Living Single had, right? Or Girlfriends, or you know what I mean? Some of our other black shows in the legacy of black entertainment. But they weren't hood shows. Those people had professional working jobs. So making six figures and up, or at least, high five figures and up. I'm not understanding why he feels the need to disparage not only his show, but other black shows. Um, I don't know where that comes in at. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I feel like being a child actor puts so much pressure on children during their formative years that they have, maybe like a little bit of an identity crisis. They're not able to make mistakes without being in the public eye. This is for all children in entertainment, not even talking about just the actors. Look at Britney Spears. Look at, um, you know, I could go down the list. I don't want to, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, Selena Gomez has been really open about her struggles with substance abuse. So was, Justin Bieber. And I feel like you shouldn't, this is just my opinion, right? I feel like you should be shielded from being in the public eye as a child, probably until you're around like 18, maybe even 21. I don't feel like putting children in the position of being the breadwinner for their family is necessarily fair. I don't feel like they should have their whole lives documented, and recorded. Let me tell you, some things that, my mistakes in my youth during my formative years, they were not on social media. And I'm so grateful for that. There are pros and cons to social media, but I feel like our entire life doesn't necessarily have to be documented. And the thing with Jaleel, this wasn't a reality show. They had writers, it was a script. Now, to his point, I will say that, and this is what Jill Marie Payton said. Her and the original actor who played her husband, Carl, they were trying to keep Jaleel White out of that dress. If you guys remember, he played his quote unquote country cousin from down south, Myrtle Urkel. And they were trying to, teach him about the ways that black men were disparaged and denigrated by putting them in dresses and trying to, take away their dignity. But he had this character OG dog or something like that. He had like a fake tattoo on his bicep during the last season. Like, just and another, if they are going to have these kids on these shows, reality shows or not, scripted television or not, they should probably have a good psychologist available. I feel like, but it might also be the culture on the set as well, because I don't feel like any of the kids from like Abbott Elementary are going to have a hard time. I mean, we won't know until the show goes on for a while, but all those kids are getting, they're getting credits as speaking actors, which is amazing. And Quinta Brunson is amazing, and it's ABC as well, network television. So I wish Jaleel the best. I hope that he heals from whatever is bothering him. I hope his book tour, goes well, and that he can speak from a place of, I don't even want to say gratitude, but just a little bit more positive than he has been in these last few weeks. But anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about Jaleel and what he said about feeling like Family Matters was left out of Black entertainment, the Black entertainment legacy? I don't think so, but that's my opinion. I want to hear from you. Drop down in the comments. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.